So there's a chapter that begins in Yisro discussing the journey from the Kriyat Yamsuf, from Egypt, what happened there, and they've made a few travelings, and now they're coming before Har Sinai, Mount Sinai. And I put in the first three psukim just to see so you see a little bit of the context. If you look at Pasuk Aleph there, it's chapter 19 of Shmos, and it says the following: B'chodesh hashlishi, in the third month, let's say it's Bnei Yisrael me'eretz Mitzrayim, that the children of Israel had left Egypt. So right, 3 weeks after. Bayom hazeh, on this day, ba'u, they arrived Midbar Sinai. They arrived in the Sinai desert. Sentence number 2. Vayisa'u Marifidim, and they traveled from Refidim. Vayavo'u Midbar Sinai, and they came to the Sinai desert. Vayachanu bamidbar, and they encamped in the desert. Vayichan sham Yisrael neged hahar, and they camped there, and Israel camped there, neged hahar, opposite, parallel to the mountain. I just threw in sentence 3 just to show you that it's carrying on in the story, but we're not going to focus on that one. Moshe ala el Elohim, and Moshe ascended, he went up to Hashem, vayikra elav Hashem minahar lemor, and Hashem called to him, saying, Ko tamru levet Yaakov v'taged livnei Yisrael. So shall you say to the house of Jacob, and you shall tell to the sons of Israel. And then this carries on with what Hashem wants Moshe to tell the people. Okay? If you're just looking at sentence 1 and 2, try and look at it very critically and think what questions you have, any issues you think with the text. Have a look at it.
Well, it says twice that they went to Midbar Sinai.
It says twice that they went to Midbar Sinai. Good.
But isn't that some kind of a continuation of the journey?
Okay, it's a journey. Anything else you can pick up there?
Yeah, it's... How come Moshe first goes up and then it says, and then God called him?
So I'm not looking at sentence 3. I just threw that in just to show you a bit of context, but we're looking at sentence 1 and 2.
Only one?
Yeah. The question is in terms of telling us what happened, reporting, I guess, you know.
The tenses are all very...
Okay, which tense there just jumps out at you?
Okay, it's Latzet is to get out, Meretz Mitzrayim, Bayom Hazeh, on this day.
Okay.
So it's the future and it's the present.
Okay.
Maybe the Bao and Yavo.
Vayavo, and they came, talking about Bnei Israel. What's wrong with that?
It's the final act, sort of.
Final thing, they encamped opposite the mountain.
Getting into the purpose.
Okay. If you have a look in the sentence, what's interesting, I think one of the things that jumps out is, B'chodesh hashlishi, it says in the third month, they came to the Sinai desert. So far you know, where are they in terms of the story? In the Sinai desert, right? They've arrived there. Okay, very good. Now the next sentence tells...
Where were they for 3 months?
3 weeks. They're getting there.
Why 3 months?
3 weeks.
Third month.
Sorry. B'chodesh hashlishi, in the third month, so Nisan, Iyar, Sivan. Okay? In Sivan, the nation arrives at Midbar Sinai. At Har Sinai.
3 months?
Not 3 months. Right, 7. It was 7. It was they came out on the 15th of Nisan, right? From Pesach to Shavuot. That's 7 weeks. So in terms of the story, the chronology, just think about this. We're told in sentence number 1, they have arrived in the Sinai desert. Yeah, that's what it says. They came in the third month, that's the month of Sivan, the nation of Israel, they arrived in the Sinai desert. Good. That's where I'm up to in the story. And then I'm told, Vayis'u merifidim, and they traveled from, they left Refidim, Vayavo Midbar Sinai, and they arrived at Midbar Sinai. You just told me that. You just told me that. Vayachanu Midbar, and they encamped there. Well, if they arrived there, it's like saying, if I tell you I arrived in Terrigal for my holiday, it means that's where I stayed. So why are you telling me Vayachanu again? So two questions. Number one, you've already told me they arrived there, now you're going back in time and telling me that they came from Refidim. Okay, if you wanted to tell me that, that's fine, but tell me first. The first sentence should say, they left Refidim and they arrived in Midbar Sinai. The first sentence already seems to have told me. They're at Midbar Sinai. Good. The next sentence comes along and says, they traveled from Refidim and they arrived at Midbar Sinai. That's the first little flag that should jump up and you think, hang on, why are you telling me that? Vayachanu bamidbar. And they encamped there. What else are they going to do there? When the whole nation arrives at a point of destination, so that's what they do. They encamp. Why are you telling me here specifically they encamped?
Twice.
Right? Twice. Where's the first time?
So they encamped.
Oh, Vayichan Sham. Right, and it says it twice, exactly. Vayichan Sham Neged Hahar. The word Vayichan Sham Yisrael. How grammatically should that be said? Vayichan Sham Yisrael.
It's there, it's here, if they hear, Sham is there.
What's the verb? What's the verb here? Vayichan. Vayichan. Vayachanu. If you look at all the other words, have a look. Ba'u midbar Sinai. Vayis'u merifidin. Vayavo'u. That is the plural. Vayachanu bamidbar. And here's the only word that's in the singular. Vayichan Sham Yisrael. And it's literally like he, and it's the singular form, Vayichan, and he encamped. But the he is talking about Yisrael. It should say Vayachanu Sham Yisrael Neged Hahar. But it says Vayichan in the singular. Okay, that's another.
But is it not because they're taking Israel as a nation, as a oneness?
So do it for the previous three verbs.
You're right.
Okay, it's something that's in Hebrew bolet. It's protruding. It's something that has a little red flag, and you have to scratch your head for this one. Okay, so let's have a look. So this shiur is based on a few paragraphs of the Orach Chaim, and just to give you I was looking up the Orach Chaim. I heard this story, and I want to try and find the source of it. Let me see if I can. The Orach Chaim HaKadosh. So I took a photo of this story. Where is it? This thing pauses. I see it doesn't want to. Okay. So the Orach Chaim, he was born in he died in 1743. Okay, 1743. And he's known after his work, his Perush, his commentary on the Chumash, which is what we're learning now. That's the source of it. It says that when he died, and he died in Yerushalayim, the Baal Shem Tov was washing for Seudat Shlishit. Okay, he was somewhere else, and he said to his Talmidim, he says the Ner Ma'aravi. I'm assuming the Baal Shem Tov is still in Poland, and he says the Ner Ha'Ma'aravi, the light of the west has been extinguished. Okay, it says something for both of them in that story. Okay. And who else? In Tveria, Rav Chaim Abdullafa, he fainted at the moment, and he said that when he woke up, he says he accompanied the Orach Chaim to Gan Eden. Okay, but listen, let's get this story. When when Har Zaytim, the Mount of Olives, fell into Jordanian hands in 1948, we know the history. They destroyed the hospital. They took all the tombstones. They put all the toilets. All the different things they did. When the Jordanians had control of the old city, but they went to bulldoze the graves in the Mount of Olives in Har Zaytim. So they started to build a road through Beis HaKvaros, through the cemetery there. When the tractor came to the kever, the gravesite of the Orach Chaim, the tractor broke down. And they couldn't get it started. The next day they brought another tractor, and when they got to that spot, the tractor overturned, killing the driver. And they built the road around it. So till this, I haven't seen it myself, but they say that till this day you can see it's like on the edge. And that's like his grave is on the edge. That's just so. It says here, they called this piece untouchable in life, untouchable in death. So that was the.
If I can add, there was a story about him meeting. Baal Shem Tov tried to meet him actually 3 times, never succeeded.
Because he tried to come to
Jerusalem
right.
to meet him, and he said to his student that if I meet them, Mashiach will come. That's why it never happened. He tried many times to meet him, and he knew that if he meets him, actually Mashiach will come. That's how the story goes.
Amazing. Okay, so he says Orach Chaim wants to say that this sentence is teaching us something else. Teaching us something else. It's not trying to teach you the chronology of what they did. That's the first sentence. Sentence 2 is teaching you something entirely different. Take a step back. They've just left Egypt. They're about to receive the Torah. That's in next week's Parasha. And he says, this sentence is the sentence just before they receive the Torah. And contained in this sentence is the secret of how to receive Torah. Okay? Because of all the inconsistencies, he says it's doing something else. And he says that there are 3 main phrases in this sentence. Vayisu'u mirifidim, that's number 1. Vayavo midbar Sinai. Vayachanu b'midbar, number 2. Vayichan sham Yisro neged ha, number 3. And each one is teaching us something else. Let's have a look. So the first one is Vayisu'u mirifidim. They left Refidim. What happened in Refidim? Anyone know what happened in Refidim? There was a battle. There was a battle in Refidim against who was that first nation that came to Amalek? Amalek is the first nation that wants to attack us when we get out. That's a whole other topic, Amalek. But there was a battle there. Anyone know what the word Rafa means in Hebrew?
Get healthy.
That's Rofeh.
Medical.
That's Rofeh with a hay. What with an aleph? Rafa.
When you make something healthy,
No, that's with the hay. With a hay, rof, like a rof.
like a
Oh, sorry, no, with an aleph. It has another meaning as well. Weak, like rifayon yadayim, the weakness of hands. So if you have a look at source. Look at source number 2. It says, "Vayavo Amalek v'ilachem im Yisrael beRefidim." And Amalek came and they fought with Israel in Refidim. Below is the Mechilta, which is it's like midrashim on the psukim, and I saw a beautiful analogy for midrashim just the other week. I thought it resonated with me. It says that the Torah is like the melody, and the midrashim is harmony. Okay? So you have someone singing the melody, and then you have someone who comes and sings a different key, a different note, but it gives it depth, it gives it beauty, it gives it a whole new look. It's all part of the same song. Beautiful, beautiful analogy. So that's the function of the midrashim. It adds a depth, it adds a harmony to it. Okay. V'ilachem im Yisrael beRefidim, and so it's quoting the Torah, and it explains like this: Achayrim Amrim, that's referring to a certain person, says the following: Ein Refidim ele Rifayon Yadayim. What does it mean, Refidim? It's talking about Rifayon. You see the same shorish, the same root word there, Rifayon Yadayim, a weakness of hands. Lefi, because Shirafu Yisrael Yadeihem Midivrei Torah. They became weakened in Torah, in matters of Torah. Lachen ba soneh aleihem. And consequently, the enemy came upon them. Because the enemy comes when we become weak in Torah. There was a certain weakness there. Again, it's a whole other issue. What happened? They complained about the water. They weren't sure if God was amongst them or not. They had a doubt to what extent. I'm not going to go there. They didn't have the Torah yet, but they had a weakness in their connection with Hashem. They had a weakness in that they did have some parts of Torah. They had a few things. They had Shabbat. They were given a few potpourri of things, but yeah, there was a certain lack of basic emunah, and because of that, boom, enters Amalek. So now, what's the connotation? Vayisu'u meRefidim. They traveled on from Refidim. They came away from that. Says the Orach Chaim. The first step is you have to get over that laziness, that weakness, that lethargic nature that one has towards Torah. You have to gird yourself, strengthen yourself. That's the first thing. That's the first thing that one needs to be roy, to be fitting, to be mekabel, to receive Torah. It can't happen. One cannot receive it by being lazy, by sitting back and expecting to do it passively. It won't work. Okay? In fact, there's a Chazal, they darshan out. They're from the Torah. If you have a look at source 3, it says, Zot HaTorah Adam ki yamus ba'ohel. So literally it means, this Torah here means this is the law. This is the law. These are the instructions of a person, ki yamus ba'ohel, that dies in a tent. And it's talking about all the different laws of Tumah and Tahara, of purity, impurity, right? If you go to the Chevra Kedisha, you see the Kohanim sitting in there, and if there was a Temple Mount, we would have to get purified before we go on, all the different rules and regulations. So that's what the sentence literally means. But the Gemara darshans out, it takes it, what's the word? Not literally. It says, if you just look underneath 3a, Ein divrei Torah mitkayemin ele b'mishemei misasmoi aleha. The Torah is not sustained. It doesn't exist in a person unless he kills himself over it. Where do they get that from? From this pasuk. Have a look at it again. Zot HaTorah. This is the Torah. You want to know how the Torah is established? In a person, ki yamut ba'ohel. When he kills himself in the tent, what's the ohel? The tent of Torah. It's the Beit Midrash, right? Matovu ohalecha Yaakov. How goodly are your tents, Jacob, said Bilam, when he was referring to the shuls and the batei midrashot and the houses of study. So they take this pasuk and they say, you want to know how you can get the Torah, how it can be firmly established? Ki yamut ba'ohel. When you give your life over to the tent of Torah, you have to give your whole essence to it. That's the only way you'll get it. Otherwise, it will fizzle out. I was going to bring. I'll say number 4. When I went for an interview to go to, it's called the Jerusalem Kollel, Rav Yitzchak Berkowitz. Huge personality, huge. And I actually got in, and for whatever reason I decided not to go. I wanted to stay in the mirror at that time, and I stayed there. But I was warned before I had an interview with him, just so you understand how his time works. It's phenomenal. I think the guys who are in the yeshiva, every week, I don't know the exact time, something like this. Every week they get 4 minutes with him, private time, timed. And every month they get 15 minutes as he walks from the Beit Midrash to the bus stop. They get the honor of being 15 minutes of just having his one-on-one time. Okay, he's dealing with American communities, Israel community. He's just all over the place. I was told when you meet with him, don't be offended if he falls asleep. I said, what do you mean? They said he basically doesn't sleep. So if he falls asleep, don't be offended. It's nothing to do with you. Sometimes he even falls asleep when he's giving us a lecture. Can you imagine that? A real person who lives in just downtown Jerusalem, runs a kollel there. And I heard him when I was in Ner Elef. He gave a halacha shiur. The way he just you have to hear it to believe it. Just how he has the whole thing in his fingertips, and it was just like a tapestry to listen to him, how he talks about different topics, and magnificent. So you see here, if you look at source 4, it says Vayifga b'makom. It's talking about Yaakov. Yaakov has run away from his brother. He before he goes to his mother's brother, right, Lavan, he stops off at yeshiva for 14 years, okay? And he knows he needs to be armed and ready before he encounters Lavan, the antics of Lavan. And when he leaves the yeshiva, he has this dream, right? The dream with the ladder and the angels. We know that one. And this is the sentence just before he falls asleep. It says, "Vayifga b'makom," and he came to the place. Vayalen sham kiva hashemesh, and he slept there, for the sun had set. Vayikach ma'avnei makom. He took the stones and he put them around his head. Vayashkav b'makom hahu, and he fell asleep. And he lied down in that place. So Rashi picks up, Vayashkav b'makom hahu. You could have just told me that he fell asleep. What do you mean he fell asleep in that place? I know, he just told you, put his head down. Lashon miut be'oto makom shechav. It's a miut. It's limiting. It's a limiting statement. What's it trying to tell us? Specifically, in that place he slept. Aval arba asar shanim sheshamash bebeis eva lo shachav balada. When he was in the yeshiva for 14 years, he didn't sleep at night. Shu oseg b'Torah. He was learning. That was his time to learn. He had 14 years, and he didn't waste a moment. Now, whether he didn't sleep literally for 14 years, or whether he just never went to bed, he just was learning. If he was tired, the head goes down, and then he comes back up again. You have famous people like the Rogatchover. If you've heard of this person, he had very long hair. He didn't have time to get a haircut. Right? So he had very long hair, and he would tie it to the back of the chair. If he would doze off, he would knock his neck, and then he'd be up again. Okay, but he was a very interesting character, Rogatchover. When he went to get entrance, I'm not sure into which yeshiva, maybe Volozhin, I'm not sure. You had to know a lot of the Talmud of Shas. So they said, do you know Shas? What do you know? They want to know what he knew. So they said, do you know Shas? The whole thing. It's a big thing, And he says, half of it. They said, so which half should we test you on? He said, either one. Yeah. So, yeah. So you see, this is the first aspect that is required, that a person needs to give themselves. I'll show you the source number 5. It says in the Gemara, it says in Shabbos, it says le'miyiminim ba'sama dechaya le'mismoalim ba'sama de maves, or de mavta, which means to the right, like yamin is right and small is left. So it says to the ones who are approaching it in a certain right-hand fashion, it's the summer. Summer is a potion, like an elixir. Okay, it's an elixir of life, or a potion of life. But those who approach it in a left-handed fashion, it's a potion of death. So obviously you need to know, what does this mean? So Rashi says, and listen carefully, not only to what he says, but what the implication of what he says is. It says, Rashi, what's it mean, the ones who approach it in a right-handed fashion? Oskim b'chol kocham. They put in all their efforts, v'tordim l'da'at soda, and they bother themselves to understand its secret. Just like Adam HaMishtamesh b'yad yemini shehu ikar, just like a person who uses this right hand, because that's the main hand. So when it's talking about the people who approach Torah as a right hand, with your strong hands, and you really put in all your effort. So Rav Chaim Shmulevitz, he says, What's the implication here? What does the left hand mean? What's the one who approaches it in the left-handed way?
The weakest one.
In the weaker way, he says a person who doesn't put in all their effort, and a person who it's not tarud, he doesn't bother himself to, not that he's doing anything negative, he's just learning it half-heartedly. And what does the Gemara say? Sama de maves, becomes a potion of death. It's almost not fair. Yeah? Meaning I understand that you put in all your effort, it's a potion of life, but if you do it half-heartedly, okay, so maybe I should get a half-hearted Torah. No. Be a potion of death. It will come to bite. You know, see, again, the same theme of the first preparation is to put in all your effort. And I was thinking, so that's what the Or HaChaim says. That's the first one. Yisro marifidim. They went away from that weakening in Torah. That's the first two words that the Or HaChaim draws off. And I was thinking in the car here, why? It's lucky I've got 15 minutes as I'm driving. What's the reason? Why is this a prerequisite for Torah? Okay, very nice. I've been told the what, but what's the why? I was thinking maybe it's based on what we were learning maybe before about the destination. Remember we talked about the tachlis and our ma'asim, our actions. We talked about Joseph and the brothers. Remember that with Joseph and the brothers, that it's not about what you think will be the outcome, because the outcome's not in your hands. The outcome's in Hashem's hands. All that's in our control and what we're going to be held accountable for are our actions. So over here, who says you'll be a Talmid Chacham? Who says? Who says you'll be able to understand everything? I don't know. So what is in my hand? The effort I put in. That is in my hand. That I can say, look, God, you gave me a little bird brain, but I did everything I could with it. That's what we'll be held accountable for, right? That's the effort. That's all these things are pointing to. I don't know if I'm going to get it. I don't know if I'm going to understand it or if I'll finish it. But I can tell you I gave my heart and soul for it. So I think that's the why this is a prerequisite.
Right?
You've got to be strong. You've got to be strong. You've got to hold it. Okay, the next one. Yeah. Even like in my previous the Rosh Yeshiva, Rav Nosson Tzvi Finkel, who passed away. You know, he had Parkinson's, and I heard a story that someone else who had Parkinson's, they had the same doctor, and apparently there are different degrees of Parkinson's I didn't know about, and he said that the person was saying that the doctor told him that Rav Nosson Tzvi has Parkinson's that is equivalent to 10 times the intensity of what this man had, and this man said, he says, I can't get out of the bed in the morning. And this Rav Nosson Tzvi Finkel was running an institution. He was running 4,000 people yeshiva, flying back from America, raising money. When I was in yeshiva, he would give a weekly shiur. It was in Yiddish. I didn't understand a word, but he, but he would come in and he'd have a person, be taken in a wheelchair, and then he would stop, and then the person would come out and hold his hands and walk backwards to help him walk to the bima where he would sit. And sometimes he would just sit there and he didn't have the strength to get words out of his mouth. And he would wait and wait and then motion to his helper that he doesn't have the strength and to take him back to his home, which was just around the corner. You can see this is a person who gave.
He gave him something to do to look forward to.
Right, he said, right. I remember my Rav, who was giving a shiur in the mirror, he said, these people, naturally they shouldn't be alive. Like he said, this man is living off his Torah. That he wouldn't be around if it wasn't for that. It's giving him his life. So the next step is Vayachanu bamidbar. Vayachanu bamidbar. This is what the Orach Chaim picks up on, and he's honing in on the word midbar. What's the midbar? What is the midbar? So which source? Here you go. Look at source number 7. This is Kevan she'oseh adam et atzmo k'midbar. When a person makes himself like a midbar. What's a midbar? Okay, when you picture a midbar in your head, what's the connotation? So says the Gemara, k'midbar shehu mufkar lakol. Mufkar. You know what the word hefka? Hefka. Something's hefka. It's ownerless. Anyone can take it. It's just free for all. It's the desert. There's no ownership. People walk there. They walk wherever they want. They trample all over it. It says when a person makes himself like a midbar, he makes himself mufkar lakol. What did I write here? Ownerless to all, but there's a deeper connotation here. This, almost like a mat. Torah nitna lo b'matana. The Torah is given to him like a present. Shne'emar, as it says, umidbar matana. So that's quoting a pasuk, a present from the desert. So it's saying that when a person makes himself like a midbar, the Torah is given to him like a present. Okay, so what's this aspect? What's the Orach Chaim telling us over here? That it's to do with one's midot, one's characteristics, one's personality that needs to be corrected and fixed and fine-tuned in order to be a receptacle for the Torah. That if that is not fixed up, if a person does not fix up their midot, their characteristics, who they are as a person, you can't get Torah. You can't get it. This is one of the prerequisites. Okay? It's our lens. It's our lens to receive the Torah. We spoke last week. About those different levels of creation. And how till it gets to us. So we need to make ourselves a fitting conduit for that Torah to come to us, right? That really is part of what we were speaking about last week. We spoke about the different levels of a person that stretches from his blood, literally from his blood, all the way up to Hashem, and everything in between. So if we're not going to fix up who we are as a person, so that the pipeline is blocked, so we can't be a conduit. It's an unhealthy. Nothing's going to come through that. It's always been Al Gedolim throughout history. The Torah has to go hand in hand with a perfection in character. And when there's not a perfection in character, we throw the whole package out. It's not good enough to be an intellect. It's not good enough just to be perfect in one area, but to be in Hebrew a mushchat, to be.
There's no perfection in character come from the Torah.
So how it works is a good question. He's saying, does it come from the Torah? So the Torah certainly will teach us how to do it. I wrote down here, Ein Chochma, Ein Yira. The empirical of what it says. Ein Chochma, Ein Yira. Ein Yira, Ein Chochma. What's that mean? If there's no wisdom, there's no fear. If there's no fear, there's no wisdom. You can do a lot. There's a lot to think about there. Chochma, can you imagine the Chochma of Torah, the wisdom of Torah? If there's no Chochma, if there's no Torah, like you said, Ein Yira, then where's the fear? Where's all the person's own approach to everything? He won't be scared. If he's got no wisdom, got no knowledge, there's no fear, right? A little baby will go up to a dangerous snake to touch it because they've got no brain. They can't think. I'm scared of the snake because I know about it. Ein Chochma, if you don't have any Chochma, Ein Yira, there won't be any fear. Yeah? But Ein Yira, if you're not coming in, it's almost like this, like a paradox, right? That's what you were trying to pick up on. If you don't have any Yira, if If you don't care, then you won't. Why will you pick up the Torah? Like, what are you going to learn? You're not going to be able to learn. If you enter, like a Bible critic, let's say, there's no yira, he's got no fear. He's learning it just to pull it apart and to tear it apart. He is ein yira, ein chochmah. So yeah, you need both. How it starts, the chicken and the egg, okay, it's a good question. We've got to think where it comes from, but they certainly feed off each other. I guess the mashal, the parable of what the midot are, another parable, it's like the grain and the storage house. You know, you need to collect the grain, but you need somewhere to store it. If you don't have anywhere to store it, so it will go to waste. That's your character. That's the person. You know, I'm going to tell my students. I actually meet them tomorrow. I didn't have any classes today. I had a student last year in year 6, and we were learning Pirkei Avot. And he said to me, there's a lot of chutzpah can be good as well. You know, he said, why are we learning this? How's this going to help me? We're learning about ethics and values, yeah. How's this going to help me? Come on, how's this going to help me get a job? It's a year 6. He's 12 years old. And it's a fair question. You know? So I said to him, if you want to get water from a well, what do you need? He says, you need a well, you need some water, and you need a bucket. I said, that's right. I said, tell me more about the water. I asked the class, and they said, well, you want the water to be good and clean. I said, what about my bucket? They said, you need a bucket. I said, what happens if the bucket has holes in it? They said, well, yeah, it's a problem. You need a good bucket. So I said, you need a good bucket and you need clean water. So I drew it on the board for them, and I had a beautiful bucket, and I filled it up with water. And then I showed them what happens if you have holes in it. All the water just comes out. Either it will just trickle out, or it will all come out, or drop. So I said, the water is the content. That's all the knowledge. And you need the knowledge. You need the knowledge of the maths and the languages, and your Jewish knowledge. There's a whole lot of knowledge, content. And you want to make sure that it's clean, just like the water. It needs to be purified. It's no good if you're filling your bucket up with mud or seawater. It's not going to be helpful. I said, but you need a bucket. You need a bucket. The bucket is the you. That's the you. That's the you involved here. And if you've got holes in it, you know, it will leak out. It may not leak out today. You may not see the effects today, but it will catch up. You know, my brother, one of my brothers he was working in insolvency, okay, a booming business. You know, he was working in Melbourne, and he said a very interesting insight to me. He said, you know, as I was going, he was given his job was. They would say, okay, this business has gone bust. Here's all their paperwork. Just find out what went wrong. You know, so he has to now go through all this paperwork and he said, almost 9 times out of 10, he said, someone did something illegal at some point in time. That's what he said. Now, that doesn't mean that people who are running good businesses aren't doing illegal things. But he said, at least in terms of what he was seeing, someone was selfish. Someone did something, and they were hiding some money somewhere, and they were caught up with them. You know, that's the leaking bucket. It's leaking. You know, it may look like, I've got all this water. It's going to come out. It comes out. You need both. That's over here. You want the Torah, so give me somewhere to put it. Give me somewhere to put it. Give me a kli, right? In Hebrew, give me a kli. Give me a vessel. Give me somewhere to put it. If you don't give me somewhere to put it, what's the point? Rav Chaim Shmulevitz, he picks up on 2 midot, specifically one of ga'ava, of haughtiness, of being full of pride, and anger, kas. And he brings different examples of where people with those 2 midot, of this haughtiness, not the inability to listen and be open to other people, how they forget Torah, and it happened to the best. It happened to the best of us, to Hillel. Hillel not sure if I've got enough time to go into all the detail there, but Hillel and Moshe, who became angry when they came back from Midian, and they didn't kill, they were meant to go and exact revenge on Midian for causing them to sin, and they kept some of the women alive who were the cause of their sin. And Moshe said, like, what have you done? And he started screaming at them that this is, I don't want to say that he screamed at them. It says he got angry. How he got angry, I don't know, but it says he got angry at them. And straight after that, they said, what should we now do with all the utensils that we got from Midian? Can we use them straight away? Like, what's the kashering process? And Moshe says, I forgot. He says, I learned it, but I forgot. And everyone picks up on it and says, why did he forget? Because he got angry. And he got angry justifiably. You know, they were told by God, you need to wipe out these people. They messed you up big time. And this is the command from God. And Moshe said, this is what you need to do. And he got upset with them. Says Rav Chaim Shmulevitz, but that's the nature of anger. You get angry, it's like fire. You put your hand in fire, you get burnt. Oh, but I had good intentions. Okay, that's wonderful. That's the nature of fire. The nature of getting angry, is your Torah will be taken away from you. Okay, it says something like kol chachmaso mistalek mimeno, to just be taken away. That's it. That's the consequence. Or haughtiness. Hashem says there's not enough room for me and you to be in the same place together, so then I'll leave. You know, if you want to take up all the space, I'll go somewhere else. So you're left devoid of Hashem. So that's why he picks up on these two characteristics again. So we're looking at Hashem, to be able to receive the Torah effectively. You need to make yourself like a midbar, mufkar lakol, ownerless. That's a reference to our midot, our character, who we are. That's the kli, that's the utensil that the Torah can now be put into. That's us. We're the kli, we're that utensil. And Rav Chaim Shmulevitz was saying two of the main characteristics that a person needs to perfect is kaas, anger, and ga'ava, haughtiness. Those two characteristics are the biggest opposition, let's say, to being a receptacle for Torah. Okay? I mentioned this. You know, we know the famous argument. You know, we've heard of Hillel and Shammai. Hillel and Shammai, they have these two big schools of thought, and they argued on various issues. They agreed on most things, but obviously the Gemara picks up on those places which they're arguing on, so we can learn something from it there. And who do we go like? Who do we paskin like? Who do we rule according to? So Gemara says, I think I put the source here. It says, it's source 8. It says, V'chi me'achar sha'alu ve'elu divrei elukim chayim. After we're told that both of them, both Hillel and Shammai, it's not that one's wrong and one's right. No, elu ve'elu divrei elukim chayim. Both of them are the words of the living God. They're both grounded in sources. They both come with full proofs and explanations of their opinions. Why is it that we mipnei ma? Why is it zachu beit Hillel lekaboa halacha kamoisa? Why is it that the house of Hillel merited to have the halacha, the law, established according to them? And it says mipnei shenochin ve'aluvin hayu. They were Noach. They were calm, pleasant. They were pleasant. Yeah, that's a better word. They were pleasant. Ve'aluvin hayu. Rashi says they were patient. Okay, aluvin here is patient. V'shonin divreihem v'divrei Beit Shammai. And they would not only teach their own things, they would even teach what Beit Shammai said. And the Gemara goes one step further. V'lo od ela, not just that, but more. Shemakdimin. Kodem means come before, right? Kadima. Shemakdimin divrei Beit Shammai ledivreihen. They would preface their own words with Beit Shammai. Now, does this tell you about that they were more scholarly? That they were cleverer? Nothing. It's the midot. It's the characteristics that Hashem said, that's the way I want the halacha to go, like Beit Hillel. Not because they're more accurate, not because they've got a sharper head. Beit Shammai apparently had the sharper svara, the sharper logic. But Beit Hillel had the midot. And the halacha goes like him. Amazing, amazing. That's why we go like Beit Hillel. That's where it comes from. This is the Gemara.
But they don't say when Mashiach comes, we go like Beit Hillel.
I've heard that. So how that fits in, it's a good question. Yeah, it's a good question. It's a good question. Yeah, I don't know. But I have heard that. We've got to see the source of that, and we'll see, good question. And I'll show you this. This is really beautiful. Look at source number 9. It says, Lo'olam yehayadam rach kekane. I just love the language. Lo'olam yehayadam rach kekane. A person should always be soft like a reed. V'al yekashe ke'eres. Shouldn't be hard like cedar. Okay? So you have the reed. You have this reed. Just imagine this thing, this plant, it's being blown about there by the wind. And the strong cedar tree, they go tall, strong, yeah. And it talks about, when the storm comes, the cedar will snap, and the reed will still be there. Because it's pliable, exactly. Ulefichach zacha kane. The reed merited litol hayemena, to take from it kolumus, a quill. Lichtov bo sefer Torah tefillin mezuzot. And it's because of this characteristic of the reed that it's flexible, that it merited to be used as the implement to write a Torah, to write a mezuzah, to write tefillin. Not only is it, you see like how beautiful it is. Not only do I need to be flexible and fix up my midot to receive the Torah, but the Torah can only be written by plant life that expresses the same concept, the reed that is flexible, and not with the areas, not with the cedar wood. Like how beautiful it is, it's really amazing. And just to bring this point a little bit more is that it doesn't mean that I have to be a doormat. Yeah, I have to do what anyone says. I have to be able to put aside my own way of seeing things, okay, and go along with someone else, even if I think it's the stupidest thing, okay? Some silly examples, you think it makes the most sense to roll the toothpaste, and the wife says, no, you just squeeze it, you don't roll it, and it bugs her, yeah. But it's logical, you have to wind it, otherwise it will just keep going backwards, Why do you keep squeezing? It's all going back. Okay, I've got to put my own logic aside. I can work with this model over here, okay? I think it's totally wrong, but I can work with it. I can be flexible. It doesn't mean I agree with it. It means I'm flexible. I can go with it. Yeah? Countless examples, okay? I don't go into any more, but that's the idea, that I can be flexible. It doesn't mean I'm a doormat. It doesn't mean that I don't have my own opinions. No, I have my own opinions of how I want to run things and how I want to do it. But I can go along with that. I can do it, and I can work with it. I can invest in it. I can do it with a smile. And I think it's the stupidest thing in the world, but I can do that. I'm flexible. Yeah.
Because you believe in it.
What's that?
Because you believe in it.
In the greater, you're doing it for the greater good, I suppose. You want to making your wife happy is more important than running the toothpaste the way you want.
But it's somewhat important as well to win an argument like that. So
yeah, I think it's like it's the person's midot, it's his character. I don't have to. It doesn't have to go like me at the end. It doesn't have to express itself according to my opinion. I've got my opinion, but I can go with yours. I think it's a character, some character trait. Yeah. So that's the. Okay, so that's the second one. And I think and we also explained why. Right? Because the Torah needs a receptacle. I think that's the deeper reason why. It's not just you need good midot and then the Torah will come to you. No, you need to have a proper place for it to be received. And that's what you need to perfect. And if you don't perfect it, the Torah won't be there. Hashem doesn't want to give it to you. Lastly, Vayichan Sham Yisrael Neged Hahar. Why is it in singular? Right, that was our question. Vayichan, and not Vayachanu. Look at the Rashi, source 1a. Source 1a. Vayichan Sham Yisrael, you'll recognize this. You'll all recognize this. Ke'ish echad belev echad. Ke'ish echad belev echad. Like one person.
with one heart.
One person, one heart. Okay? One person with one heart. And you see, I'll carry on. It ends with a bit of a downer. It says, Aval sha'ar hachaniyot v'ta'arumot u'machloket. All their other encampments were with arguments and quarrels. But this one, Vayichan Sham. This one, they did it perfectly. Okay? Which is amazing. If you have a look at source, just turn the page. Oh no, do I have it here? Do I have this source? Hang on. Oh no, sorry. Look at 1b. 1b, this foreigner, commenting on when it says, and Moshe ascended to Hashem, Amar she Yisrael samu panehem el iske hachaniya v'tzarchea, that the people, they were turning their face. They were getting involved in the camping, setting up their tents, v'tzarchea, and all the necessities, all their needs. Moshe Allah, and Moshe ascended v'heichin atzmo lenevuah, and he prepared himself for nevuah. So the people are preparing the campsite, and Moshe was preparing for nevuah. So one does not need to look at this negatively. They were just involved in silly little things, but Moshe was getting involved in nevuah. No. What does it mean? Now that we know that the people in camp, like one nation, like one people, what's it?
Everybody has a part of role to play to make things work. You can't have everybody to cook. You need the cook, you need the water.
But I'll tell you what happened. I'll tell you what happened at Har Sinai. Each family said, take that spot. That's a nice soft ground. Set your tent up over there. Can I help you set that up? I can see you need a hand. That's what it means. They were getting involved in the physicality of helping everyone else. That's what they were doing. And Moshe's getting himself ready for this nevuah. Hashem says, now's the time to give the Torah. I've got this unity. There's a unity. Everyone else is looking up for someone else. That's a beautiful moment. A really beautiful moment. Which, says Rashi, didn't take place in their other encampments, But at Har Sinai it did. That was the fitting place for Hashem to give the Torah. If you have a look turn the page, source 10, it says, Barzel bebarzel yachad ve'ish yachad penei re'ehu. It talks about iron sharpens iron, that you need to sharpen, you need some other piece of metal going against it. Okay? I heard like this, that when it comes to learning by yourself, it's like one sword. You're not sharpening it. When you have two swords, two people learning, you sharpen each other. That's why you need other people. The other people, they enhance you, and you enhance them. Through the learning process, that's the iron on iron. Just like iron on iron, that's how you sharpen it. So to a man sharpens the countenance of his friend. Okay, so behind the fancy words, it's saying that just like what two pieces of metal can achieve against each other, so too can people when they interact. You sharpen each other's minds, you sharpen each other's intellect. Everyone needs to work together. And just so you don't think that we're all mindless zombies because we're all like one heart, if you look at source number 11, so Tun Rabbanan, I'll read the English. If one sees a multitude of Jews, something like 600,000 Jews here, a person makes a special bracha. Blessed is he who knows secrets. Yeah? Chacham harazim, for their minds are all unalike, and their faces are unalike. Ve'ein partzufin domin. It says she'ein da'atam domeh zelazeh. Their da'as, their intellect is not the same, just like and also their partzufim, their faces. No two people are the same. So you see that we had one heart, but 3.5 million different perspectives and points of view. Yeah? Always important to remember that. And that's the bracha that we make. That Hashem even though we see this whole mess, this whole conglomerate of people, you know that each single person is thinking and seeing the world in a different way. Yeah, you know the secrets. You know, each person's face is different, their thoughts are different. I was thinking, why the unity? Why is this a prerequisite for receiving the Torah? We say, Oraisa v'kudshabrichu chadhu. It's from the Zohar. It says the Torah and Hashem are one. This one I don't feel I have a whole grasp on it, but it says Hashem's one. Hashem and the Torah is one. It needs oneness. It needs that unity to be part of. It's not. It requires that unity. You know, the truth is, I don't need to go back in time to look at unity. You can look at when the three boys were kidnapped and look at the unity that was generated. But there is a story of the Tsar that put the Talmud on trial, like they did in many times. But this time it was because of the word Adam. It says, something like Ein ha'umot ha'ulam nikra Adam, that the nations of the world are not called Adam. Oh, you see, the nations of the world are not called human according to your Talmud, and they were going to make a whole pogrom, and it was a dangerous time. And someone came from I don't know where they came from. It wasn't from the Tsarist Russia, and they came and they had a meeting with the Tsar, and they said, "I'll explain." They said, "The Jews, it's like one body. It's like one body. You know, you have a pain in the toes, so the whole body suffers." He says, "Why would I come here? I'm living comfortably wherever he was living. You know, maybe in Western Europe. I'm not sure where he was coming from. Why would I come here?" He says, "Because my brothers are in pain." He says, "That's why we're called Adam. Adam is in the singular, right? Adam, man, in the singular." He says, "Because we're one." It doesn't mean that you're not human. It just means that the Jewish people function as one body. We're one person. That's why we're called Adam, and the non-Jews are not called Adam, because you wouldn't leave your palace to go somewhere else to help your fellow citizens somewhere else. You know, you wouldn't make that effort like we make the effort with each other. So that's the unity. So just really quickly, taking a step back, I saw that the bigger picture is that this is what's in our hands, okay? Whether it be our effort involved, our fixing up of our midot, of our characteristics, or trying to express unity with our fellow Jews, that's in our grasp. That's what we can do. That's like the ma'asim. That's our actions. That's in our control that we can do and ready ourselves to receive the Torah. That's what the Or HaChaim is telling us in this pasuk. And maybe I'll finish off just with one thing. Pesach. All the dayanos. You know all the dayanos? It would have been enough for us. So one of them is, if you would have brought us to Har Sinai, but you wouldn't have given us the Torah, dayenu, that would have been sufficient. You think, what? You wouldn't have given us the Torah? That was the whole point of the whole thing. God told Moshe from the beginning, on this mountain, I'm going to give you my law, you're going to take it out here. Like, this is what we are, this is who we are. What do you mean, if you would have brought us to Har Sinai but not given us the Torah? Dayenu, what would have been enough for us? The explanation overall is that at each stage we have what to be grateful and thankful for. So what exactly are we thankful for just bringing us to Har Sinai? Because bringing us to Har Sinai what are we thankful for? For giving us the ability to prepare ourselves. Even if we didn't get the Torah, even if we don't achieve it, but at least we can prepare ourselves. We can put in all the effort. We can fix up our midot. We can show unity amongst the whole nation. And for that, dayenu. Yeah.
Love your fellow man.
What's that?